7:31, tsn.ca/Montreal if you want to listen to Game Points with Matthew Ross online. Let us talk a little fantasy baseball with our expert.
It's time once again for Game Points to bring in the expert. RotoWire.com senior editor Jeff Erickson here to teach you more than what you learn at that fancy school of yours. So take the crayons out of your ears, shut up, and listen good. Here is Jeff Erickson.
You can also follow Jeff on Twitter.com/Jeff_Erickson. Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
Good, Matthew. How are you?
I am well. I'm well. Good to touch base. Good to chat a little baseball here on the program. It's been a while, so anxious to do so. Busy getting things ready for everyone's drafts and so forth. I'm sure you're loving this time of year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, I've got a draft on Sunday. I've got 3 weekends where I'm traveling in March, trying to set up the RotoWire Staff League as we speak, actually, right now, trying to get all set up for that's a keeper league, an 18-team keeper league, and the toughest thing about that league is just trying to find a draft date, trying to find 18 different people that have a free day.
Yeah, that certainly can be rough. Jeff, let's get right into it. Let's talk some fantasy baseball here on the program. Jeff always gives us his nuggets, his advice. And Jeff, I'm looking at the top 100 on a couple of the different sites, and some of the usual suspects are there, and then I see some of the younger players, guys who maybe had a little bit of a success last year, who are maybe set to break out. And one guy comes to mind. I'm very curious. I'm looking at his pedigree. I mean, everything tells me that this is going to be a huge year for him, but he is playing with a loser organization, so I don't know. But Jeff, your thoughts on Anthony Rizzo? I mean, the guy had 15 homers, 48 RBIs, and only 337 at bats last year, hitting .285. I mean, is this guy for real?
I think he is. I've got him at 57 overall, so
wow.
That might be even higher than most of my colleagues out there. It might be a little bit of betting on the come. I've got him for a pretty full projection, 158 games. Got him projected for 29 homers, 101 RBI. I'm a believer. Let's just put it that way. I might be a little aggressive with him, but you know what? You look at his minor league numbers. He's blown up. Like you said, he's got the pedigree. You know, there's everything is there to like about him.
6'3" as well. Red Sox pick in the 6th round, so we'll see if he.
The Red Sox angle. I forgot about that.
No, I actually didn't even think of that. I was just curious. The names jump out at you when you're looking at the list, and you think, oh, Anthony Rizzo, he's up there pretty high. So just wanted to ask you about him. But elsewhere, Yu Darvish was obviously a rookie last year. He had a great year with the Texas Rangers, 16-9, a 3.90 ERA. Now, I'm not comparing him to a guy who flamed out, because he certainly seems to be a little more consistent than a guy like Daisuke Matsuzaka. Sorry, another Red Sox angle. But an interesting comparison, because in his rookie year, he had some pretty decent numbers. Always had that first inning trouble, but he won a World Series. He had, I think it was 16 wins in his rookie year. Do you expect same kind of year again in year 2 for Darvish?
I think it might even be better. If you look, the one thing that's a huge indicator to me is 221 strikeouts on 191 innings. He's better than Daisuke as far as I'm concerned. Doing this in an extreme pitcher's park too. The walks are a concern. 4.19 walks per 9 innings last year. I think some of that though was his stuff is so good. Umpires had a hard time calling it. If you notice, he was better in the second half than he was in the first. If he also might have actually been a little unlucky in some cases. 308 batting average in balls in play. He might actually be even better this year, and I think the Rangers are still going to be a really good team. I know they lost Josh Hamilton. I know they didn't have the greatest offseason, but first of all, they had a good base. Secondly, it's not like they can't improve the team over the course of the season. I still think that this is going to be one of the better teams in baseball, and I think they're going to ride his coattails on this.
Jeff, I am not a fan of the Blue Jays, nor am I a fan of R.A. Dickey, but his situation intrigues me. I mean, obviously he's a mid-30s guy. He's had essentially one phenomenal season in his entire career, 233 innings last year, and the best part for me, 230 strikeouts for a knuckleballer. That's crazy. But 20-6 record last year. Now he's in the American League. To me, it's a huge stretch, and I feel like I'm the only one in the world that's basically thinking to myself, well, there's no guarantee the guy wins 15 games this year.
No, and the Blue Jays, you could go up and down this team, pitchers and hitters that they've acquired, that there's a lot of high range, high amount of variance on the range of outcomes for these guys. Look at, for instance, Mark Burley. They're assuming that he's going to be a massive change, but this is a guy that 2 years ago was, the White Sox didn't want him back. They're putting him back in the American League, back in a hitter's park. Doesn't strike out a lot of guys. That could blow up on him. His family's not with him because he owns a pit bull, and that's illegal in Toronto apparently. So, he doesn't want to get rid of the dog. It's not like his pit bull wasn't. That's a whole other story for another day. I won't go down that path. But basically, I think there's a lot of possible bad outcomes for him. But going back to R.A. Dickey in particular, the huge spike in the strikeout rate makes you wonder what happened there at age 37. We know it's not like it's steroids or anything. He didn't throw harder last year. Just he had better command of that knuckleball. I think it'll be somewhere in between. I think you look at what he did the two previous years in 2010, 2011. He hit. I mean, he pitched well. Hitters didn't, connect with him a lot. He just didn't strike out as many guys. So I have him losing about 50 strikeouts.